Well, it's Michael Cohen week in the Donald Trump election interference case in Manhattan, and Cohen is the most important witness for the prosecution, and his testimony will be crucial to convicting Donald Trump. But while everyone was consumed with the Stormy Daniels testimony last week, there were two under-the-radar moments that should sink Trump in this case, and we need to talk about them. I'm Dave Aronberg, State Attorney for Palm Beach County, aka the Florida Lawman, here on the MeidasTouch Network. Thank you for all your likes and your comments. Appreciate them all. Please keep them coming. And as far as the case that everyone's talking about, Stormy Daniels was the one that got all the attention last week. But there were two moments in the trial that will greatly help the prosecution and help corroborate Michael Cohen's testimony. And this is something that has not been widely discussed, and I think it's really important that we talk about it here. First off, to get us here, the prosecution has been meticulously building a firewall around Michael Cohen, pre-butting his testimony, because they know that the best chance the defense has is to try to make Michael Cohen into a liar, into someone who's unlikable. And as we've seen through podcasts on this channel and through his testimony publicly in front of Congress, that he comes across credibly. Michael Cohen has fessed up, he has paid his debt to society, and he has been trying to do the right thing. And yes, he has prior convictions, felony convictions, and the prosecution will surely bring that up in the direct examination. You want to take the sting out of the negative stuff. You don't want it to be a surprise when the defense comes up and says, aha, weren't you convicted of lying? So you take the sting out of it. Plus, you can easily take a lot of the sting out of his perjury convictions by saying that he lied to protect Donald Trump. It is what it is, and the prosecution, I think, has a lot to work with Michael Cohen. On the other hand, the defense doesn't have that much left because the witnesses have been pretty devastating, I think, against Trump thus far. So as far as now how the prosecution is going to take it to the next level, you see, so far, everything has gone the prosecution's way, I think, as far as establishing that Donald Trump knew about this hush money scheme when he was involved in creating it, that he knew it was to help his electoral chances. It was all about the election, not to protect Melania or anyone else in his family. And now you just have to directly tie Trump to the falsification of business records, because that's the underlying crime here. Was Trump involved with calling these reimbursements legal fees and recording it as such in their ledgers, through the invoices that came in, through the checks that went out? The prosecution has put on a really good case to corroborate that in advance through circumstantial evidence. And here are the two pieces of evidence that came up last week in the midst of all the hoopla about Stormy Daniels that I think is really important. Here it is. Number one, while on the stand, the prosecution asked Stormy Daniels, do you recall that his attorneys, Mr. Trump's attorney, in court papers filed in June of 2018, confirmed that Donald Trump in 2017 had reimbursed Michael Cohen's company, Essential Consultants, for the $130,000 that was paid to you? Stormy Daniels, yes, I saw that. Prosecution, so that was confirmed in Mr. Trump's lawyers' submitted 12 court papers, correct? Stormy Daniels, correct. So they've gotten into evidence, the actual court papers that Donald Trump filed when he was in a civil lawsuit with Stormy Daniels back in 2018. And in that civil lawsuit, he acknowledged that he paid Michael Cohen $130,000 for reimbursement for the hush money scheme. That's really important because the lawyer for Donald Trump, Todd Blanche, said in his opening statement that this was not about reimbursement. This was about legal fees. So it's either legal fees or reimbursement. If the jury believes it's legal fees, legal services, whatnot, then Trump wins. If the jury believes it's reimbursement, then the state should win. And here you have Trump's own words, because he's not going to testify. He's not taking a stand, but they're going to hear from him anyways through his own lawsuit, where he acknowledged that the $130,000 was to reimburse Michael Cohen. So what else could those $35,000 a month payments be for? Additional legal fees? There's no proof of that. He wasn't even under a retainer agreement. It was for the reimbursement of the hush money payments. And here you have Donald Trump directly tied to that with knowledge. So that's pretty bad. And we also saw tweets that came in. Here's the most damning one. This is from May 3rd, 2018. Mr. Cohen, an attorney, received a monthly retainer, not from the campaign and having nothing to do with the campaign, from which he entered into through reimbursement. Let me say that again. Through reimbursement. A private contract between two parties known as a non-disclosure agreement or NDA. And then he goes on, but that's the most important part. That came from Trump himself, and his lawyers knew that was really damaging, so they fought hard to keep it out. They tried to say that's not anything but an official statement from the White House, so there's executive privilege and all that. No, it didn't work. That came in. So that, along with the court acknowledgement that I just mentioned, all comes in to hurt Trump. That all establishes that he knew all along that his payments to Michael Cohen were reimbursements, not legal fees. And there's a third thing that's already been into evidence that corroborates this further. And that is a conflict of interest form that Donald Trump had to file while he was in the White House. And it's already been entered into evidence. It's also from 2018. And this conflict of interest form, which was proven through Jeff McConaughey's testimony, confirmed that it was Donald Trump's signature on this form that goes to the Office of Government Ethics. And on this form, it says, in the interest of transparency, while not required to be disclosed as reportable liabilities on part. In 2016, expenses were incurred by one of Donald J. Trump's attorneys, Michael Cohen. Mr. Cohen sought reimbursement of those expenses, and Mr. Trump fully reimbursed Mr. Cohen in 2017. The category of value would be $100,001 to $250,000, and the interest rate would be 0. These are admissions from the horse's mouth, saying, contrary to what his own lawyer says in opening statement, that this was not about legal fees. This was about the reimbursement. So now you've tied Donald Trump to a knowing reimbursement of the hush money fees. And there were no legal fees on top of that. There's no evidence that the subsequent payments, $35,000 a month that were made to Michael Cohen, were anything beyond the reimbursement that was grossed up. We saw Alan Weisberg's handwriting where this whole formula was created where it's $130,000 plus an additional $130,000 for the taxes, plus you have the $60,000 for the bonus. You have all this, and maybe I'm getting some of the numbers wrong, but it grossed up to $420,000 in total. So that's where this whole thing comes from. There's no other explanation, and all you need now is for a witness to testify that Donald Trump directly was involved in this scheme, that Donald Trump was the one who told Michael Cohen to label this as legal fees, legal services, whatnot, and it would be reimbursed this way. And then that's the ballgame. Corroboration comes from Donald Trump's own words, through his disclosure forms, through his tweets, and through his court documents. Pretty damning stuff. So, with all the attention paid to Stormy Daniels' testimony and all these others, don't forget the documents. Because people lie, but documents don't. I'm Dave Aronberg, aka the Florida Lawman here on the MeidasTouch Network. If you like this video, please like it, leave a comment below, and share it with a friend. And I'll see you next time.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.